Okay, go for it.
What is a failed state itself? The definition of a failed state is the loss of control of its territory or the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force therein, the erosion of legitimate authority to make collective decisions, an inability to provide public services, and an inability to interact with those states as a full member of the international community. A lot of the failed states that have been listed by the US government ironically seem to be in Africa. All of these former European colonies are now failed states after the European powers pulled out and left them with no government to sustain them. Common characteristics of a failing state include a central government so weak or ineffective that has little practical control over its territory, non-provision of public services, widespread corruption and criminality, refugees and involuntary movements of population, and sharp economic decline. The top 5 failed states as listed by the US government are Somalia, Chad, Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Haiti. 4 of those 5, as I said, are all in Africa. All 5 were former European colonies. The social indicators of a failed state are actually going to be the demographic pressure, massive movement of refugees and internationally displaced, legacy of vengeance-seeking groups' grievance, chronic and sustained human flight. All of these things attribute to a failed state. And economic indicators are an uneven economic development along group lines, sharp or severe economic decline. These things that we can relate to, we can see in modern Europe today, and also inside the United States. These things such as Greece failing and the US dollar losing value. Political indicators of a failed state are criminalization or delegitimization of a state, progressive deterioration of public services, widespread violation of human rights, security apparatus as state within a state, and rise of factionalized elites. All these things could be attributed to a failed state and are very easily seen inside Somalia. Now Caleb is going to come up and talk about Somalia.
So now that we focus on Somalia, which is on the Horn of Africa, it has been characterized as a failed state and is one of the poorest and most violent states in the world. Mohammed Siad Barre seized power in 1969 of Somalia, which was at that time a successful state, and established the Somali Democratic Republic. However, in 1991, his rule came to an end and the Somalian Civil War broke out. 1991 was a time of great change for Somalia. The Barre administration was ousted that year by a coalition of many clan-based groups, many of these having ties to drug lords and many drug groups like that. However, some were extremist groups. One of the most common ties to the Somalian Civil War is the United States movie Black Hawk Down, which was focused on Mogadishu, which is the capital of Somalia in this area. And in that, 18 Americans and thousands of Somalis were killed as a result. The northwestern part of the country has been relatively stable under the self-declared but unrecognized, it's important to realize that it's unrecognized, sovereign state of Somaliland. Here on this small map, Somaliland is this part right here. However, there has been a recent dispute between Somaliland and another group, which is off more to the west, and then there's the part on the direct horn, which is Puntland, and that is it doesn't cut ties with Somaliland, but it doesn't declare itself as part of it. In the south, in this black region, we have a region that is controlled by the Islamist Al-Shabaab. He controls part of the entire south of the country. And without a central government, Somalia's inhabitants are subsequently reverted to local forms of conflict resolution, which is civil, Islamic, or customary law. It is important to note that also that citizens of Somalia now endure violence and many things that the government cannot protect them from. Essentially, it's hard to imagine, but essentially realize that maybe in America, to put this into perspective, America broken into parts. America, like the East, is controlled by one group with no government ties. One small portion of the United States controlled by the actual government, and even that government isn't recognized by other international nations. And then another group, and the rest of the United States broken up into many other groups. It's hard to imagine, but the citizens of Somalia go through a lot with violence unprotected by their government. Thank you.